Outside, the Cathar cruisers fired a warning shot across their path. "Commander Kale, stand down. This is your final warning." Sierra's jaw tightened. She glanced at Marcus, then back at the stars. "Not today." She slammed her fist on the throttle. The Valiant spear shot forward, engines roaring as debris scattered behind them. The cruisers followed immediately. Blaster fire lit up the void like fireworks. The ship shook violently. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Marcus yelled, "Shields dropping fast!" "Hold them," she shouted. "They're targeting our engines." "Then make them miss." Marcus gritted his teeth, throwing the ship into a hard spin. The Valiant spear twisted through the wreckage, scraping metal fragments and diving between broken hulls. The enemy shots missed by meters. Sierra fired back from the bridge cannons. Her aim was deadly, every blast hitting with precision. But there were too many of them. "We can't outrun 3 cruisers," Marcus said. "We need a jump point." "There is one, the rift zone," she replied. Marcus froze. "You mean the unstable wormhole? The one that eats ships?" "Yes." "You're insane." "You bonded to me," she said. "You knew that already." He smirked despite the danger. "Fair point." The Valiant spear dove toward the rift, a swirling black and blue storm at the edge of space. Energy waves pulsed across the ship's hull. The computers screamed warnings. "The field will crush us," Marcus shouted. "Trust me." She yelled back. For a split second, their eyes met, human and alien. Fear and fire, and the bond between them flared bright as a star. They entered the rift. Everything went white. The ship trembled violently. Gravity twisted. The crew screamed. Then silence. When Marcus opened his eyes, the stars outside were different. The nebula was gone. The scanners were blank. They were somewhere unknown. He turned to Sierra. "Did we make it?" She exhaled slowly. "Yes, but we are far from Cathar space. No signals, no allies." Marcus grinned weakly. "Then we did it." "We escaped." Sierra stared out the viewport, the faint glow of the rift still shining behind them. "No," she said quietly. "We only traded one war for another." He frowned. "What do you mean?" Her eyes glowed faintly with the bond light. "This region belongs to the Marauders, outcasts, pirates, and the Drask's dark fleet. If they find us first, the bond won't save us." Marcus leaned back in his seat, sighing. "So, honeymoon's canceled, huh?" Sierra turned her gaze toward him, expression unreadable. "Human humor is strange," she said softly. Then after a pause, "but comforting." The two stood there, watching the distant lightning flicker across the void, alone, hunted and bound together by fate. Whatever waited beyond that storm, they would face it side by side. The rift spat the Valiant spear into a dead zone of space, dark, cold, and silent. No stars, no signals, only drifting shadows. Marcus stared at the scanner display. It showed nothing but static. "We're blind," he muttered. Sierra stood beside him, her eyes scanning the void through the cracked viewport. "This place feels wrong," she said quietly. "You mean worse than usual?" "Worse," she said. "Something watches us." Her tone was sharp, her hand resting on her blaster. Marcus felt her unease through the bond, like a low hum at the back of his mind. They'd survived battles, betrayal, and the rift itself. But this was different. The silence here wasn't empty. It felt alive. Then the radar flickered. A single ping. Then another. Marcus frowned. "Something's out there. Small ship, maybe 2 clicks away." "Hide our signal," Sierra ordered immediately. "No transmissions." Marcus dimmed the systems and cut the engines to stand by. The Valiant spear drifted in the void like a ghost. Through the darkness, faint lights appeared, red, blinking, moving fast. Sierra narrowed her eyes. "Marauders." Marcus's stomach dropped. "You mean pirates?" "Worse," she said. "Exiles. Cathar who sold their honor for survival. They hunt refugees and sell bodies to the Drask." Before Marcus could answer, the ship trembled. A metallic clank echoed through the hull. "They've locked on," he said. "Magnetic harpoons." The deck shook again. Then the lights flickered out completely. Sierra drew her blaster. "They're boarding." The emergency lights bathed the corridor in red. Marcus grabbed a plasma wrench, the closest thing to a weapon he had, and followed her toward the airlock. The door hissed open. 5 Marauders stepped through, armored and armed, their helmets marked with red symbols. The leader was massive, his voice rough through the mask. "Commander Kale," he growled. "Didn't expect to find you running with humans." Sira raised her weapon. You'll regret finding me at all. No need for threats, the Marauder said. The High Command wants you both alive. The Drask are paying double for bonded pairs. Marcus felt his pulse race. He glanced at Sira. We can't let them take us. Then we don't, she said. The firefight exploded. Blue and red flashes lit the corridor. Sira moved like lightning, each shot precise and deadly. Marcus ducked behind a console, firing a stolen pistol awkwardly. The Marauders closed in fast. There were too many. One charged Marcus, knocking the gun from his hand. He hit the wall hard. Pain shot up his arm. The Marauder raised his weapon to strike, but froze. The air around Marcus shimmered blue. The bond mark on his hand burned bright, glowing through his sleeve. Sira gasped, feeling it too. Marcus, what are you doing? I don't know. The blue light exploded outward like a wave. It passed through metal and flesh, silent and blinding. The Marauders were thrown backward, crashing against the walls. Sparks rained from the ceiling. When the light faded, the corridor was filled with smoke. Every Marauder lay unconscious or worse. Sira turned toward him slowly, eyes wide. You just unleashed a bond surge. Marcus looked at his hands. The glow faded, but the heat still pulsed under his skin. That wasn't me. It just happened. No, she said, stepping closer. It was us. The bond amplified our fear, our will to survive. It created a field, a defense neither of us could control. He exhaled shakily. So now we have superpowers, great. What's next? Exploding when we argue? For a moment, Sira actually smiled. Faint, tired, but real. Possibly. They secured the Marauders and checked the damage. The ship's hull was scarred, but still intact. Marcus rerouted power and sealed the airlocks. As they worked, the bond pulsed again. Calm this time. Warm. Their connection felt stronger, clearer. Marcus looked at her. You felt that, didn't you? It wasn't just energy. It was emotion. Sira hesitated.
Yes, you
cared. You saved me too, he said quietly. Don't forget that part. She looked away, her armor cracked and her voice softer than he'd ever heard it. We are still not safe. The Marauders will call for reinforcements. They will not stop until we are caught. Marcus stepped closer. Then we don't wait for them. Meaning, we take the fight to them. We use the bond, whatever that power was, and turn it into a weapon. Sira studied him for a long moment. You would fight an entire Marauder fleet? I'd fight anyone trying to hurt you, he said simply. For the first time, her eyes softened completely. You are a strange human, Marcus Reed. Takes one to bond with one, he said, smiling faintly. The ship's scanners beeped again, distant pings approaching fast. More Marauders. Sira turned to the controls. Then we make our stand. Marcus gripped the console beside her. Together? She nodded. Together. Outside, the stars shifted as the Marauder fleet emerged from the dark. Massive. Deadly. Closing in fast. But this time, they weren't running. Inside the Valiant Spear, two souls, human and alien, stood side by side, glowing faintly blue, ready to defy the galaxy itself, and far beyond. In the shadow of the rift, something ancient stirred, watching, waiting for the storm that was about to begin. The Marauder fleet surrounded the Valiant Spear like wolves circling a wounded prey. Dozens of ships, their engines glowing red, closed in from every side. Inside, alarms screamed. The ship's shields flickered weakly. The crew looked to their commander, to Sira, for orders. But her eyes were on Marcus. There's no way out, Marcus said quietly. They've blocked every vector. Then we fight, she replied. If this is the end, we end it on our terms. Her voice was calm, steady, the voice of someone who'd already accepted death. Marcus stepped beside her. You really think we can stop them? No, she said. But we can show them what bonded strength means. He smiled faintly. Sounds very HFY to me. Sira tilted her head. HFY, human phrase, he said, means we don't die quietly. For a moment, she almost laughed. Then her expression hardened again. The Marauders hailed them. A massive hologram flickered to life on the bridge. The leader, a scarred Cathar with a metal jaw. His voice was a deep growl. Commander Kale, you betrayed your kind for a human. Hand him over, and I may let you live. Sira stood tall. You'll have to take him from my ashes, the Marauder sneered. Then ashes it is. The transmission cut, the first barrage hit. Plasma fire tore through the void, shaking the valiant spear like thunder. Panels exploded, sparks rained from the ceiling. Marcus gripped the console. "Shields at 20%. Divert power from weapons to defense," she shouted. "We'll be sitting ducks." "Do it," he obeyed. The engines roared as the power shifted. Still, it wasn't enough. The next hit slammed them sideways. Marcus fell hard, blood trickling from his forehead. He could taste metal. The bridge lights flickered. Sira staggered but stayed standing. Her armor smoked, her eyes glowing faintly blue. The bond pulsed, fast, fierce, alive. Marcus felt her pain. She felt his, and somewhere in that shared storm of emotion, something awoke. "Marcus," she said quietly, "do you feel it?" "Yeah, it's like the bond is calling us." The blue light spread across their bodies, growing brighter. The hum filled the air, low at first, then deep and resonant, vibrating through the deck. Every console lit up with strange symbols neither recognized. The valiant spear's systems merged with the energy of the bond, as if the ship itself was awakening. "What's happening?" Marcus shouted. "We're syncing on with the ship," Sira said. "The bond isn't just between us anymore. It's extending." A surge of power burst from the reactor. The engines flared white-hot. Outside, the Marauder fleet hesitated. Their scanners spiked, detecting impossible energy levels. Then the valiant spear moved, not like a ship, like a living thing. It streaked forward, leaving a trail of blue fire. Sira and Marcus stood together, their minds locked in sync, guiding the vessel as one. The first Marauder cruiser fired. Marcus raised his hand instinctively, and the bond energy responded. A glowing shield of pure light formed ahead, deflecting the plasma bolts like pebbles. Sira returned fire, not with blasters, but with the ship's new energy, focused into a single devastating beam. It tore through the enemy's flagship in one hit, splitting it in half. The explosion lit up the void. "Holy hell," Marcus breathed. "We just vaporized a warship." "Do not lose focus," Sira said, though her voice trembled with awe. More ships closed in. The valiant spear danced through them, moving faster than physics allowed. Every time Marcus thought, the ship obeyed. Every time Sira aimed, it struck. The Marauders panicked, breaking formation. "They're retreating," Marcus yelled. "No," Sira said. "They're regrouping. Their leader won't run," and she was right. The largest ship, the Iron Fang, charged straight at them, its cannons glowing red-hot. "Marcus," Sira said quietly, "this next shot will drain everything." "We might not survive it," he looked at her. "Then let's make it count." Their hands met, human and alien, flesh and claw, and the bond burned brighter than ever. The blue light filled the bridge, wrapping around them, merging their hearts, their breath, their will. Outside, the valiant spear became a blazing comet. It collided head-on with the Iron Fang, releasing all its energy in a single blinding pulse. The explosion tore across space like a sunrise, lighting the darkness for thousands of miles. When the light faded, nothing remained, only silence. For a long moment, space was still. Then, faintly, a beacon blinked. A single pod drifted through the wreckage. Inside, Marcus and Sira floated, alive but unconscious. Their hands still clasped together, the bond mark glowing faintly between them. Hours later, distant sensors from a neutral colony picked up the signal. A rescue ship moved in. When the medics opened the pod, the light from the bond illuminated their faces, calm, peaceful, unbroken. No one knew what they were. No one knew their story. But the legend spread, of a human and a Cathar who defied two armies, crossed a rift, and became something greater than either species alone. They called it the bonfire, the day when one human and one alien proved that connection could be stronger than war. And somewhere in deep space, a whisper echoed, part human, part alien, entirely united. "Together, we rise." Her voice came back through the bond, faint but steady. "Hold your ground, human." The Drask boarded Section 5. "You're hurt. So are you." He felt her smirk through the link, distant, fierce. Then came another explosion. The ship lurched. The lights went out. Marcus hit the floor hard. For a few seconds, everything was dark. He could only hear the alarms and the pounding of two heartbeats, his and hers, in perfect sync. When emergency power returned, he stumbled to the control console. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The Drask had breached the lower deck. He grabbed his comm. Engineering secure, but we've got hull breaches near Section 5. Sierra's voice cut through the static. Stay there, human. I'm ending this. Through the bond, he felt her fury, cold and focused. She moved like lightning, cutting down the raiders one by one. Marcus's body tensed with every strike, every impact. When the battle ended, silence returned. The feeling of rage faded into exhaustion. Sierra appeared at the engine room doorway minutes later, armor scorched and dented. Marcus rushed to her. You're bleeding, he said. It will heal, she replied, her voice flat. We survived. He could still feel her heartbeat slowing, matching his. The connection between them pulsed gently, not painful anymore, almost warm. She looked at him for a long time. Then she said, You should not have fought. The bond could have killed us both. You're welcome, Marcus muttered. Her eyes softened slightly, just enough to show she'd heard the gratitude beneath his sarcasm. Perhaps humans are not as fragile as I believed, she said quietly. He smiled faintly. And maybe Cathar aren't as heartless as they pretend. For a moment, they stood there, two warriors bound by accident, breathing the same heavy air, linked by something neither of them understood. Then the ship's intercom buzzed. All decks, report damage. Enemy retreat confirmed. Sierra turned to leave. We'll speak later, human. Rest. You're shaking. Marcus looked at his hands. They were trembling, not from fear, but from the memory of her fight, her pain, and the strange connection that made them one. As she disappeared down the corridor, he felt her presence fade in his mind, but not completely. Even miles apart on the ship, her thoughts were there, faint but constant, like a quiet heartbeat in the back of his mind. He exhaled slowly. Guess I really did marry into trouble, he murmured. 2 days after the first attack, the Valiant Spear drifted through the edge of a dying nebula. The hull was patched, the engines weak, and the crew exhausted. Marcus worked in silence in the engine bay, tightening a loose plasma conduit. Sparks flickered against the steel walls. His hands shook, not from fear, but from something stranger. The bond. Every few minutes he could feel Sierra's heartbeat echo in his chest. Fast when she was angry, calm when she meditated. It was like sharing his body with another presence, always watching, always there. He didn't hate it anymore. But he didn't understand it either. The ship's comm crackled. All decks, prepare for warp jump. Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead. Finally, time to get out of this dust bowl. But before the engines could charge, the alarm screamed. Multiple contacts detected, hostile signatures approaching. Marcus froze. The sound of that alarm always hit deep, cold, sharp, final. Then Sierra's voice cut through the intercom. All hands, battle stations. Drask Fleet incoming. The deck shook as the first barrage hit. Lights flickered. A pipe burst overhead, showering Marcus with sparks. He ran to the console, checking the reactor output. Damn it, they're jamming the power flow! Through the link, he felt Sierra's energy surge, controlled fury, like a storm breaking loose. She was already fighting. Seal the reactor. Keep us alive, her voice echoed in his head. Working on it! Marcus shouted back, even though she couldn't hear his real voice. The next impact was harder. The ship groaned like a wounded beast. A section warning flashed. Breach, Deck 5. Marcus swore. That was the deck Sierra was defending. Without thinking, he grabbed a plasma cutter and ran. Smoke filled the corridors as alarms wailed around him. Crew members sprinted past, some shouting, some carrying the wounded. Through the haze, he felt her pain, sharp, burning, then fading into focus. She was hit again. He pushed forward. Hang on, Sierra! When he reached Deck 5, the sight stopped him cold. The bulkhead was half blown open. Bodies, human and Cathar, lay scattered across the floor. The air smelled of ozone and blood, and in the center, surrounded by armored Drask soldiers, stood Sierra Kale. Her armor was cracked, glowing blue where the bond mark pulsed beneath. She fought like a force of nature, fast, brutal, unstoppable, but she was outnumbered. Marcus didn't think. He acted. He saw a Drask take aim at her back. He ran forward, shouting, Sierra, down! She turned just as the plasma bolt fired. Marcus slammed into her, shoving her aside. The blast caught him in the chest. He hit the ground hard. Everything went white. Through the pain, he heard her scream, not with her voice, but inside his mind. No, human, stay with me. The bond flared bright blue. She clutched her chest as if struck herself, falling to her knees. Their life signals pulsed together, wild and unstable. Sira roared, rage flooding through the link. She leapt up, cutting through the Drask with feral precision. Every blow she landed burned through Marcus's veins like fire. When the last enemy fell, she ran to him, dropping to the floor beside his body. "You fool," she whispered. "Why would you do that?" Marcus coughed weakly. "Guess? I'm bad at watching people die. You could have killed us both." He smiled faintly. "We're still here, aren't we?" Her eyes softened. The fury melted away, replaced by something fragile, something she'd never shown before. "You saved me," she said quietly. "You'd have done the same," he whispered. "No," she said, shaking her head. "I wouldn't have risked the bond." "Not before now." She pressed her clawed hand against his chest, over the wound. The bond mark on her own hand glowed, transferring warmth into him. He gasped as the energy flowed through their link, sealing flesh and knitting cells. When it was over, both were pale and trembling. Marcus stared at her. "You healed me. With the bond?" "We share life," she said softly. "I gave some of mine," he swallowed hard. "That's insane." "It is our way," she said. "And now your life is mine, truly." He tried to sit up, but she held him down gently. "Rest, human. The battle is not done. But if you die again, I will not forgive you." "You'd miss me," he murmured. A small smile, the first real one, touched her lips. "Perhaps." The ship trembled again, but fainter this time. The enemy was retreating. Through the open hull, the stars burned bright, peaceful for once. Sira stood, offering him her hand. He took it. Her grip was strong, steady. For the first time, it didn't feel like the hand of a commander. It felt like the hand of someone standing beside him, not above him. They walked together toward the bridge, the blue light of their bond flickering softly between their palms. No one spoke as they passed the wounded. The crew stared, a human and a Cathar commander, walking side by side, united by law, battle, and blood. At that moment, Marcus realized something terrifying and beautiful. He wasn't just her accidental bondmate anymore. He was her partner in war, and maybe, just maybe, her fate was now his too. The valiant spear drifted in silence after the battle. Its engines burned low, floating among the wreckage of Drask ships and torn debris. For the first time in days, there was no gunfire, no screams, only the hum of the damaged reactor and the cold stars beyond. Marcus leaned against the bulkhead, his body still weak from the fight. Sira stood nearby, staring out a shattered viewport. The blue light of their bond faintly glowed across her hand. "We won," Marcus said quietly. "Victory is not always what it seems," Sira replied. Her tone was flat, almost distant. He frowned. "You sound like someone who knows bad news." She turned toward him, her dark eyes unreadable. "The Cathar High Command has sent orders. And? They want me to surrender you." Marcus blinked. "Come again?" "They believe the bond has corrupted me. They say it's unnatural, forbidden. I am to hand you over for isolation and genetic examination." He laughed bitterly. "So basically they want to turn me into a lab rat." "Yes," she said softly. "And they will execute me for allowing the bond to form." The air felt heavy. The silence between them said everything. Marcus stepped closer. "What are you going to do?" Sira didn't look at him right away. "My duty was clear once. I lived for my command, for my people. But now..." She clenched her fist. "Now I feel your thoughts, your fear, your courage. I cannot hand you over," Marcus smiled faintly. "Guess that makes us both traitors." "It makes us outlaws," she corrected. At that moment, the ship's intercom crackled again. "This is Fleet Command. Valiant Spear, you are ordered to dock for inspection immediately." Sira's expression hardened. "They're already here." Marcus rushed to the console. Scanners showed 3 Cathar cruisers approaching fast. No chance to fight, no chance to explain. "If we stay," he said, "they'll take us both." "If we run," she replied, "they'll hunt us." He looked at her and said, "Then we'd better make the chase worth it." Sira hesitated for only a heartbeat, then nodded. "To the bridge now." Then the door slid open again, and Sira stepped inside, armor removed now, dressed in simple dark fabric. She looked different without the helmet, less terrifying, more real. "You should rest," she said quietly. "Tomorrow the ritual begins." Marcus turned toward her, still holding the blade. "Do I get a say in what happens next?" No, she replied. But I will not harm you. Her tone was sincere, yet distant, like someone who had already lost something she cared about. You think I wanted this? She added softly. To be bound to a human? To live with shame in the eyes of my people? Marcus didn't answer. He just looked at her, realizing how trapped she was, too. Two strangers from different worlds, both caught in a law neither asked for. The hum of the engines filled the silence between them. Get some sleep, human, she said at last. Tomorrow you become Cathar by blood. The lights dimmed. The door locked. Marcus lay awake on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. He had no idea what Cathar by blood meant. But he knew one thing. Nothing about this bond was going to be simple. The next day came too fast. Marcus barely noticed the ship's lights shift from night cycle to day. His head was pounding, his stomach tight. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Sira's cold silver gaze and that glowing blade on the table. He hadn't signed up for this. He was an engineer, not some interstellar groom in a cosmic marriage ceremony. The door to his quarters opened with a hiss. Two Cathar guards stepped inside, followed by Sira. She was back in her ceremonial armor, darker, heavier, engraved with strange symbols that glowed faint blue. It's time, she said quietly. Marcus stood, hands trembling slightly. You sure there's no refund policy on this whole bond or die thing? Sira didn't smile. Jokes will not help you today. The guards escorted him through the long metal corridor. Every Cathar they passed stopped and watched in silence. Their glowing eyes followed him. Curious, angry, maybe even disgusted, he could feel their thoughts in the air. The human broke the code. The commander was shamed. They reached the bonding chamber. It was circular, vast, and filled with floating orbs of blue light. The walls pulsed like veins, alive with energy. At the center stood a tall crystal, shaped like a flame, beating faintly, almost like a heart. The Cathar priest waited beside it. His voice was deep and layered, like 1,000 echoes speaking as one. Bring them forward, the priest said. Sira and Marcus stepped into the circle. The guard stopped at the edge, silent. Marcus swallowed hard. So, what exactly happens now? You will place your hand on the crystal, the priest said. It will judge your intent. It will link your life with hers. Judge my what now? Sira looked at him. If your heart holds deceit, the crystal will burn you from the inside. Marcus blinked. You could have started with that part, but it was too late. The priest gestured. Sira removed her armored glove, exposing her scaled hand. Marcus hesitated, then did the same. Together, they placed their palms against the glowing surface. At first it was cold, then it grew warm. Too warm. The crystal pulsed brighter, and Marcus felt something move beneath his skin. A burning thread of energy climbed up his arm, spreading through his chest. He gasped. What the hell is— Do not move, Sira ordered. The light from the crystal flared, wrapping them both in a blinding glow. Strange runes floated in the air around them, swirling faster and faster. Marcus felt his heartbeat sync with hers, two rhythms colliding into one. His thoughts blurred. For a moment he saw flashes, images that weren't his. A battlefield, alien skies. Sira standing over a fallen comrade, roaring in grief. He staggered back, breathing hard. I saw something. You. Fighting. Sira's expression shifted, a flicker of emotion breaking through. The bond shares memory fragments. It is not supposed to be so strong. The priest stepped forward, his voice echoing. It is done. The link is sealed. The lives are one. Should one perish, so shall the other. The words hit Marcus like a hammer. Wait, what? You didn't mention that part. Sira didn't answer. She just looked away, her jaw tight. You mean if I die? You die too? He asked. Yes, she said softly. And the same for me. The priest bowed. May your unity bring peace between species. Then he turned and left. Marcus stood there, staring at his glowing hand. A faint blue mark shimmered just under the skin, a symbol shaped like two merging stars.
It pulsed slowly, in rhythm with his heartbeat. He looked up at Sira. This is insane.
I didn't choose this. Neither did I, she replied quietly. But the bond is law. Breaking it would dishonor both our people. He frowned. You care more about honor than your own freedom? Her eyes met his, cold, proud, but also weary. Freedom is not something the Cathar understand easily. They stood in silence for a long moment. The glow of the crystal faded to dark. Only the hum of the ship filled the room now. When they finally left the chamber, Marcus felt different. Lighter and heavier at the same time. His thoughts weren't alone anymore. There was a faint presence, quiet, distant, but clearly there. Later, in their shared quarters, he sat at the table, staring at his hand again. He could almost feel her emotions, faint ripples like waves across his mind. "Can you hear me?" he whispered. "Do not speak inside your mind, human." Her voice suddenly echoed, not from across the room, but inside his head. Marcus jumped. "Okay, that's new." "The link connects us," she said, her tone calm but stern. "Our thoughts, our senses, our pain." He rubbed his temples. "Fantastic. So now we're married and telepathically connected. Great upgrade." For a moment, she looked almost amused, but it vanished quickly. "Rest, human. You will need strength. The bond is not stable yet. Too much emotion can damage the link." "Emotion?" Marcus said. "Lady, I just got psychic wired to a lizard general. You think I'm not emotional right now?" She ignored him, turning away. Her armor caught the light, glowing faintly where the bond mark pulsed beneath. Marcus sighed and leaned back on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. He could feel her heartbeat in his own chest, slow, strong, alien. Somewhere deep inside, he wondered, was this truly a curse? Or the start of something no human had ever known? The bond changed everything. At first, Marcus thought he could ignore it, pretend it was just some glowing mark on his hand and not a living link to an alien mind. But that illusion didn't last long. The first time it happened was during breakfast. He was sitting alone in the mess hall, trying to swallow a gray lump the ship called nutrient loaf, when suddenly his heart started racing. His chest tightened and his vision blurred. He gripped the table. "What the—" And then he saw flashes. Not in front of him, inside his head. A dark corridor, boots striking metal. Sira's hand gripping her blaster. Rage, fear. He gasped and looked up. The whole room spun for a second. When the images faded, he felt dizzy but unharmed. That's when the comm channel on his wrist beeped. Commander Sira KL requesting engineering status report. Her voice was calm, but Marcus could hear something else, a faint echo, like the tail end of her own heartbeat inside his head. He took a shaky breath. Commander, are you by any chance angry right now?" There was a pause. "I'm conducting drills. Why do you ask?" "Because I think my brain just tried to join your workout." Another pause. Then a cold reply. "Do not exaggerate, human." But her voice sounded less certain this time. Later that day, Sira came to him in person. Her armor glimmered under the corridor lights. "You felt something," she said flatly. Marcus nodded. "Yeah, like I was inside your head for a second. It wasn't fun. The bond is unstable," she explained. "It will sink more as time passes. My emotions may reach you, and yours may reach me," he frowned. "Great. So if I get scared, you feel it too?" "Fear is contagious," she said simply. "Control it," Marcus almost laughed. "You're really bad at comforting people, you know that?" Sira's eyes narrowed slightly. Comfort is not part of command. They might have continued arguing, but before either could speak again, the ship's alarms screamed. "Alert! Enemy contact at Sector 9. Drask Raiders incoming." The corridor lights turned red. The crew rushed to battle stations. Sira grabbed her helmet and turned to him. "Stay here. That's an order." "Like hell I will," Marcus said. "I'm the chief engineer. If those raiders hit the reactor, we're all dust." She hesitated for a second, then nodded. "Fine, but stay out of my line of fire." Moments later, the ship shook violently. Blaster fire thundered across the hull. Marcus sprinted toward the engine room, the floor vibrating beneath his boots. Inside his mind, he could feel Sira moving, fast, powerful, like a living storm. Every blast she fired echoed through his nerves. Every heartbeat of hers pulsed in his chest. He sealed the reactor bulkhead and yelled orders to the crew. "Lock down sections 7 through 9. Keep the plasma vents stable." Through the chaos, he saw more flashes. Sira fighting hand-to-hand with armored raiders, her blade cutting through the dark. Her anger burned through him like fire. Suddenly, pain shot through his arm. Not his, but hers. She'd been hit. Marcus gasped, clutching his forearm. His knees buckled. One of the techs turned to him. "Sir, you're bleeding?" He looked. His skin was fine, but inside his head, he felt every pulse of her wound. He closed his eyes, focusing. "Sira, what's happening?" The valiant spear drifted through deep space, silent and proud. The human vessel was old but strong, a warship built for exploration and defense. Inside its steel corridors, humans and aliens worked side by side, though trust was still rare. Marcus Hale, the ship's chief engineer, was not a soldier. He was a problem solver, a man who fixed things that broke. Machines made sense to him. People didn't, especially aliens. That morning, everything felt normal. The engines hummed steady, and the maintenance report was clear. Marcus sipped his recycled coffee, muttering about how the caffeine tasted like burned plastic. Then the red lights flashed. Biohazard alert. Decontamination, Chamber 7. Marcus frowned. Chamber 7? That section was sealed, reserved only for the Cathar commander, the alien officer assigned to the human fleet. Her name was Commander Sira Kale, and most of the crew avoided her. The Cathar were tall, scaled, and known for their cold discipline. Their armor was sacred. Their laws were ancient. Even the captain spoke to Sira with careful respect. Marcus didn't think twice. An alarm meant a system failure, and he fixed those. He grabbed his toolkit and ran down the long corridor, the sound of his boots echoing against the metal floor. When he reached Chamber 7, the warning light blinked fast. Steam hissed from the door seals. He tapped the console, unresponsive. He could hear a faint hum inside, like the sound of a malfunctioning filter. Damn it, he muttered. If this thing's overheating, we'll lose the containment. He entered an override code. The door slid open with a sharp hiss. For a moment, he thought the steam was just fog. Then it cleared, and Marcus froze. Inside stood Commander Sira Kale. Without her armor, her tall form glowed faintly under the white lights. Her scales shimmered like liquid silver, patterns moving across her skin like living art. She turned sharply, eyes wide, fangs bared. Marcus's mind went blank. He had walked in on a Cathar warrior unarmored, something forbidden by their culture, maybe even worse than a crime. The alarm, Marcus stammered, holding up his hands. Sira's eyes narrowed. Her claws flexed. In a flash, a plasma blaster appeared from a hidden holster, the barrel glowing blue. "You dare!" she hissed. "You enter sacred ground, human." "You saw what is forbidden." Marcus stepped back slowly. The blaster's hum filled the chamber. "Commander, please, I didn't mean to." The system triggered a hazard alert. She stepped closer, her movements smooth and precise. Her face was unreadable, but her eyes burned with fury. "By Cathar law," she said quietly, "when an outsider sees one unarmored, it is not forgotten. It is bound." "Bound?" Marcus repeated. "Wait, what are you talking about?" She raised her chin. "You have seen my true form. You know my scent, my pattern. You cannot walk away." Marcus's heart raced. "Commander, please, I didn't see anything." "Okay, I'll forget it ever happened." "You cannot forget what has been seen," she snapped. "You entered my private chamber." That act alone. The chamber lights flickered, and a voice crackled from the intercom. Lockdown protocol engaged. Biohazard containment sealed. The door behind him closed. They were trapped inside. Marcus turned to the console. "Great, perfect, we're locked in." "Look, Commander, maybe we can—" He stopped when he saw her face. Her expression had changed. The fury was still there, but something else hid behind it. Uncertainty. "According to my code," she said softly, lowering the weapon just slightly, "you are now my bonded mate." Marcus blinked. "Excuse me?" "Cathar tradition binds the witness to the warrior." "You saw me without armor." "You share my secret, my shame. The law says we are joined until death." He stared at her, completely lost. That's insane." "I'm human!" "We don't do, whatever this is." Her gaze stayed cold. "Then you will adapt. Or die." Marcus swallowed hard. He could feel sweat forming on his neck. The air felt heavier, as if the chamber itself was listening. He looked around, trying to find a way out, but the control panel was dead. His reflection in the steel wall showed a scared human standing beside an alien warrior holding a glowing weapon, and calling him husband by law. "So what now?" Marcus said, trying to stay calm. "You gonna shoot me or marry me?" Her blaster stayed aimed, but a faint smirk touched her lips. "In my world, there is little difference." The steam hissed again, wrapping around them like a curtain. The blaster light glowed brighter, reflecting in her silver eyes, and then, for the first time, she looked almost human. Sad. Trapped by her own code. Marcus realized she wasn't angry at him. Not really. She was angry at the law that forced her hand. The silence grew thick. The hum of the ship outside seemed far away now. "You will remain here until the bonding tribunal decides your fate," Sira said quietly. "Do not try to escape. You belong to me now, human." The door lights turned red. The chamber locked fully. Marcus stood still, heart pounding, trying to process what just happened. He had only come to fix a system error. Now he was trapped with an alien warrior who thought he was her husband. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a single thought echoed. This day just became the strangest in human history. Marcus barely slept that night. The decontamination chamber's lockdown had been lifted, but the damage was done. Every step he took down the corridor, he felt the stares of the crew. The rumor had spread faster than light. The human engineer had walked in on the Cathar commander unarmored. No one dared speak to him. Even the captain avoided eye contact. The Cathar soldiers on board, tall and silent in their black armor, watched him like he was already guilty. When morning came, Marcus was summoned to the tribunal hall, an ancient Cathar court chamber built inside the ship for diplomatic matters. It was a circular room lined with strange glowing symbols, cold and heavy with authority. At the center stood Commander Sira Kale, armored again, her face hidden behind a silver helmet. Around her, 6 Cathar warriors stood as witnesses. Their presence felt like gravity, pressing down on everyone in the room. Captain Rourke, a broad-shouldered human with gray eyes, leaned close to Marcus before the hearing began. "Just stay calm, Hale. Let them talk. Don't argue their laws." Marcus nodded nervously, though he didn't understand any of it. The chamber lights dimmed, and a deep mechanical voice echoed, "Case 47 Delta. Violation of sacred boundaries. Human subject Marcus Hale accused of unauthorized entry into private sanctum of Commander Sira Kale." The sound made Marcus's chest tighten. He looked at Sira, hoping for a hint of compassion. But she stood perfectly still. Then she spoke, her voice deep, controlled, and cold. "By Cathar Code of Honor, Article 9, Section 12. Any being who sees a Cathar unarmored must either be executed or bound by blood and vow." A murmur rippled through the room. Even the human officers shifted uncomfortably. Marcus swallowed hard. "Executed or married?" he muttered under his breath. Captain Rourke glared at him. "Not the time, Hale," Sira continued, her tone sharp. "I offer him the bond. He saw what is forbidden. Therefore, I extend him the right to live. Through union." The word hung in the air like a weapon. "Union." Marcus blinked. "Wait, you're saying—" The tribunal voice cut him off. "Does the accused accept the bond?" Marcus looked around. Every eye in the room burned into him. The Cathar soldiers' hands rested on their blades. Even Sira's gaze, though hidden behind her helmet, felt like a storm waiting to strike. He raised his hands. "I didn't mean to break any rule. I was just responding to an alarm. Can't we just skip the alien wedding and call it a misunderstanding?" The hall fell silent. No one moved. No one laughed. Finally, Captain Rourke sighed and leaned toward him. "Son, if you say no, they'll vaporize you before you reach the door." Marcus stared at him, horrified. "You're kidding, right?" "Do I look like I'm kidding?" He looked back at Sira. "You really want this? You want to be stuck with me?" She tilted her head slightly. For the first time, her voice softened, just a fraction. "This is not about what I want. It is about what must be done." Her words sent a chill through him. It wasn't anger he heard, and it was duty. A heavy, painful duty she couldn't escape. Marcus sighed. "Fine, I accept. Whatever keeps me alive." The tribunal lights flared bright blue, and a sharp tone echoed. "The human accepts the bond. The ceremony will be conducted at next cycle's rise. Until then, both parties are bound by pre-ritual confinement." Marcus blinked. "Wait, confinement?" "As in—" "Yes," Sira interrupted. "You will be placed in shared quarters until the union is complete." "Shared what?" The Cathar guards stepped forward, ushering him out of the chamber. Marcus tried to protest, but one look at their glowing visors told him it was useless. As he passed Sira, he caught a brief glimpse of her eyes through the narrow slit in her helmet. For a heartbeat, he saw something human. Regret. Back in the corridor, Marcus muttered to himself. Walk into a room to fix an alarm. End up engaged to an alien warlord. Great career move, Hale. The guards led him to his new quarters. The door sealed shut behind him. Inside, the room was dark, lit only by soft blue lights that seemed to pulse with energy. 2 beds, 2 sets of gear. 1 table, and on that table a small ceremonial blade. He picked it up, staring at the strange runes carved along its edge. A symbol of bonding. He felt a cold weight settle in his chest.